Hey, what's going on everyone, Aramad here. Over the past couple of months in my free time, I've updated 22 out of 40 zones of Vanilla WoW to showcase what's possible in a Classic Plus experience. While the topic remains hotly debated, one thing everyone can agree on is the desire to see Azeroth evolve. So, I've introduced new role changes across the two continents, drawing inspiration from Warcraft's past and future. This project originally started with the intent of updating every zone and more, but I underestimated how large of a task that really is. So, let's get right into it. What's always bothered me is how small Goldshire is as a town. In the lore, it has a population of over 7,000 people. In-game, however, it's just an inn and a blacksmith. Using the Warcraft comics as reference, I've turned Goldshire into a better representation of its size and the lore, providing a much more cozy feel to the town despite the looming threat of the Defias Brotherhood, allowing more space for quests, roleplay, and just overall visual enjoyment. As for Durotar, I tried to add something that's more visually stunning to stand out from the boring dry canyons that we're familiar with, a new stables and barracks, and a few homes, hopefully enough to make Razor Hill the orc equivalent of Goldshire. Another change I've made is to the Echo Isles. Using the Cataclysm version as a base, I've retextured the area to fit the Stranglethorn aesthetic it uses in Vanilla instead. Not a huge change, but I think it makes the Isles just a little bit more interesting and inhabited looking. Originally, I wanted to turn this into a new starting zone for the trolls, but that project would take a few dozen hours, so I decided not to. In Tirisfal Glades, Undercity's topside is brought back into Vanilla, as well as a gold mine to the east. I really wanted to use the Whispering Forest to the west of Deathnell, but I felt like I had to prioritize other zones in the game since Tirisfal is already a top tier zone. And lastly, we have Mulgore. Camp Sungraze is an additional quest hub, as well as the Stone Talon Pass, giving players a new pathway to reach Stone Talon and Desolace from the mountaintops. Moving on to Silverpine Forest, one of my favorite zones of Vanilla WoW. Regrettably, however, it's very lackluster compared to the Barrens. While the zone utilizes its space very well, I made Olsen's Farthing much larger. Now a questing area, maybe something involving gathering the deeds from the various farms throughout Silverpine, and taking down the Ravenclaw residing there, since they currently serve no purpose. On the other hand, Westfall. Sentinel Hill has been updated to have destroyed walls and additional buildings for the Moonbrook refugees. The Stone Talon Mountains, one of the most complained about zones I've seen in my research. In Warcraft 3, Stone Talon was pretty significant, and by extension, it's received 3 new sub-areas. The Stone Talon Caverns now unearthed thanks to the Venture Company, where players will face kobolds, harpies, and undead, under command of the cursed highborn priest Zune. Above the Charred Veil is the Emberfall Ridge, providing more space for fire elementals, since this is one of those quests that I've always had problems completing in a reasonable time frame. And south of Sunrock Retreat, the ruins of Eldrathar have been found by the Reliquary, eager to take any Night Elven artifacts they may come across. Deep in the Thousand Needles is the Shimmering Flats, a salt flats turned raceway, where goblins and gnomes spend their time racing their inventions against each other. I had always imagined something more like Warcraft 3's Grand Prix minigame, so I've placed billboards, destroyed vehicles, and other doodads to make the racetrack stand out more. On top of that, orcs and dwarves have joined the race, sporting a demolisher and siege tank as their respective speed demons. Right above the flats is Splithoof Heights, a centaur camp that's from Cataclysm. They were able to stow away before, but in this timeline they're a bit more brazen. The quest givers in Shimmering Flats want you to deal with these centaur and stop them from interrupting their races. After the Second War and the Scourge invasion on Lordaeron, the northern hemisphere of Eastern Kingdoms has been in a state of disarray. Alterac now just a shadow of its former kingdom, the Syndicate are vying to retake control of Alterac and its neighboring zones. While the massive changes I would have liked to make by increasing its actual size would be too time-consuming, I can sort of paint the picture of what I'd like it to be. I retextured the zone to have more snow and added siege remains to its borders, using the Escape from Durnhold dungeon in TBC as a reference. Hillsbrad Foothills is one of the most contested areas on PvP servers, and lore-wise known for its infamous Durnhold Keep by the Orcs. A new dungeon section lies below, showing that the humans were just as capable of brutality shown by the original Horde, as well as a new PvP event similar to Hellfire Peninsula, capturing the 2 towers in the zone for some honor which can be spent on low-level PvP gear. Down the road is Arathi Highlands, which has Ravenhold assassins taking residence outside Stromgarde, keeping an ever-watchful eye on the Syndicate. The living side of Stromgarde has been updated to have functional buildings instead of their destroyed versions, the same for Daybury's farm. In the lore, the Daybury family is still alive long into the future, so it never made sense that it was already destroyed in vanilla. With all of the changes, Ravenholt has additional housing, but the idea of expanding the reputation's purpose. What if you could side with the Syndicate or with Ravenholt, with unique rewards depending on which side you choose? If not that, then you could at least add more quests involving them. I think it'd be interesting, especially as a rogue. There's also room for the scrapped Syndicate dungeon beneath Strombrad, which would make Alterac more interesting as well. The misty jungles of Stranglethorn Vale are already pretty fleshed out, so I only did some visual updates on Booty Bay and Nessingwary's camp. Game wardens now protect players, providing a safe space for them amidst all the PvP chaos. When it comes to the Badlands, the first thing that comes to everyone's mind is the awful Earth Elemental quests. In order to combat this issue, I've enlarged these areas and added additional caves so that there's more rooms for players to quest. And in the Swamp of Sorrows, the Harborage from the Burning Crusade returns for Alliance players. For Dustswallow Marsh, Mudsprocket from the Burning Crusade comes in, providing more neutral quests for players to complete, and as for the Alliance, a quality of life change. Theramore now has a bridge connecting it to the mainland. The Tanaris Desert is already a great vanilla zone, but I've gone ahead and updated Gadgetzan and Steamweedle Port. The Thunderdrome in Tanaris is a fighting ring, similar to the Ring of Blood or a Crucible of Carnage. Because of its location on the map and being a port town, Steamweedle would be a great place to travel to any new island zones in the future. I've also grabbed the Cataclysm version of Lost Rigger Cove, expanding the coast and providing more pirates to fight. Most notably, however, the Discs of Oldham have been discovered, allowing players entry into the Titan facility. In the Fell-infused forests of Fellwood, we can add a flight path to the Emerald Sanctuary. I've also updated the Furlbog assets to Wrath of the Lich King and Mists of Pandaria. Down below in the Unguro crater, Fungal Rock has received a visual update. The Explorers League have also unearthed the Shaper's Terrace and other Titan locations earlier in the timeline. The rocky coast of Ajara is now easier to navigate, with new pathways for easier access, as well as housing 2 new dungeon or raid locations, Timbermaw Hold and the Bay of Storms. The Blasted Lands has been changed drastically, an entire shoreline riddled with ships, fell orcs above the Dark Portal, and the Naga to the south eager to deal with any adventurers foolish enough to fight them. I had wanted to make additional changes here by making the backside of the portal look more like Outland, with its fauna and magical energy slowly seeping through, but that was one of those projects that would take a significant amount of time. I just think it'd be a cool TBC reference since we wouldn't actually be going there. Deadwind Pass is home to Karazhan, the long-abandoned tower belonging to Medivh, the last guardian. In Vanilla WoW, this zone serves no purpose despite the fact that it is, quote, complete, going unused until the Burning Crusade due to time constraints. Those with a keen eye may have noticed that during the Nightbane section of the raid, the outside environment of Deadwind Pass is different. There's a small town to the west, a farm to the east, and a couple of homes near the river. I've added all of these into the vanilla world, fully explorable. Those who have played Legion and beyond likely know about the artifact location that was put under Karazhan, which I've included as well. And that's all of the changes. What I didn't take into account, however, was how big of a project this ended up being. I think I spent at least 300 hours. The World of Warcraft is so large that it's just too much for one person to change on their own, but hopefully you guys were excited to see what I did make. There's so many ideas I didn't get to implement, just spitballing at least around 50 additional changes. I had started early work on places like Briarwood Village, Gilneas, Zildare, Tol Barad, Highjaw, and Oldham. Man, the list just goes on and on. If you enjoyed this video and loved the Classic Plus discussion, please subscribe, comment, like the video. Let me know what changes you'd like to see. And with that, I'll see you in Azeroth.